right. Hello. My name is Kendra.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Lindsay.
And this is our music Oddcast. Today we're going to be talking about the phenomenon of people waking up from comas to the song Free Fallin'. And no, I'm not making this up.
So there was an episode of Pop-Up Video in the late 90s. Could have been early 2000s, but I think it was late 90s.
A great show.
Yeah.
I learned so
very
many things
informative.
from that.
But if anybody can find the episode that has this fact, I will send you a free sticker. Because I can't remember which video. I think I don't think it's a Tom Petty video, but I think it's one that has, like in the video, has a patient in a coma for some reason. Then they talk about it. But I went back through a bunch of episodes and could not find it at all. So yeah, free sticker. Someone, if you can remember, can find this and send it to us.
Where are you watching Pop-Up Video? Just on like YouTube?
Yeah.
I might do that when I get home, actually. Yeah. That sounds great.
I want a sticker. No, it's fine.
So we took a little bit of a break this summer.
Because summer.
Yeah, and schedules, work, and we got to see some cool bands.
Yep.
Who'd you guys see?
I'd say my top ones. I just got back from Riot Fest, so I got to see Bikini Kill and Slayer and the B-52s. Ironically, seeing Slayer like 3 days after getting a Slayer tattoo, so feeling pretty fucking proud of myself right now.
We were supposed to do this one night, and one of my friends had an extra ticket to see Beck, and so I went with him. He had asked Kendra to go, but she's like, sorry, got the podcast. And I was like, I'm canceling the podcast, sorry.
But also, you were the only one of the three of us that hadn't seen Beck yet. So.
Yeah, that's true. We had to like complete the...
And it's totally understandable to cancel to go see Beck.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, don't blame you.
I saw Paul McCartney. I think I've probably talked about this, other episodes. And Brian Wilson.
Nice.
Yeah, which is fun. I don't think I saw anybody else.
I also saw Blink-182.
Oh, yeah? How was that?
It was really cathartic. I was like, fuck, I forgot I knew all the words to this song. Because, like, you go through that phase when you're, like, pretending, like, Blink-182 wasn't, like, a catalyst to get you into punk rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then, like, you're just lying to yourselves. Like, anyone that's in their 30s that was like, I didn't like Blink-182 before I liked Black Flag, go fuck yourself because you're a liar. You are a goddamn liar.
Honestly, out of everybody's, like, Riot Fest videos and stuff that I was watching, the most exciting, like, most lit set looked like it was the Village People.
Oh.
I didn't catch them.
Really? I mean, people were going absolutely nuts. Like, Sarah, like, posted it, and I was like, whoa. And she's like, I can't believe I'm doing the YMCA with the actual Village People. It's just funny to me imagining, like, all these, like, old punks or something having a little bit of time, and they're like, let's go see the Village People.
People were losing their shit for the B-52s also.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That looked really fun.
I missed a couple bands because after Patti Smith played, we already had pretty good spots for that. And we're like, okay, I'm committed. Like, we're staying here.
Bikini Kill was on that stage.
Yeah. Never realized the Racketeers had that many fucking songs, though. Mm-hmm. So I have nothing against Jack White, but when you're waiting on your feet for, like, an hour and a half for a band that you've been waiting to see for, like, 20 years.
Oh, see, I thought that they played at the same time.
No, the stages are next to each other.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they're on the other stage. So I wasn't really paying attention. Also, like, I will admit, I've never heard of them before. So I had no idea. And then I was like halfway through, I was like, what is this dad rock? And I finally looked at the screen. I'm like, oh, is that Jack White?
It's Jack White.
I'm like, well, he is a dad, so I'm not wrong.
Did you guys see the video online? There's some girl at a concert freaking out because she used to get rid of her cell phone when Jack White was playing. It's really funny. You'd have to watch it, but she's just whining about how she had to go stand in a certain section to use her phone because you had to put your phone in a bag and not have it out while he was playing, and she was super pissed about it. It's funny if you can find it online.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Also, props to him for making that a rule.
I know. That's cool. I try not to. Sometimes you want, like, especially, during McCartney, I did whip it out for one song just to send it to my sister, but I do try when I'm watching a show to not have a phone out unless I absolutely have to.
I'm guilty. Like, I even wrote a song making fun of myself for it because I'm like, yeah, I go to shows, I take videos, look at my photos. And I'm like, you think I'm making fun of the audience, but I'm definitely making fun of myself.
But I love watching people's videos that they take at shows.
I do too.
So
I like to take like just one or two decent ones for social media just to
show it later.
I'm not gonna like record the whole show or anything. But.
Yeah, but I do get excited about that sometimes too.
All right, so tell us all about Tom Petty.
So he was born in Gainesville, Florida in 1950 to Earl and Kitty Petty. Kitty Petty. I was saying Penny for some reason.
That's a great fucking name.
What
Kitty
is with
Petty.
all these people's moms
No,
having
like-
great names?
Kitty Petty.
All the episodes.
It's like you pet the kitty.
I
Yeah,
know.
Kitty Petty.
That's true.
It's just
Yeah.
amazing. Kind of like Katy Perry, but Kitty Petty.
Yeah.
Way better.
But so much better than Katy Perry. Okay.
Speaking of, I heard that she and Orlando Bloom now are part owners of the Bragg apple cider vinegar business.
Really?
Really
No
random.
idea.
Yeah.
It's really good for
Yeah.
heartburn, acid
Yeah.
reflux.
I drank it for a while.
I hate
Had
vinegar.
Some health benefits. It was kind of gross, but
I
if you
just
mix
can't
it
do
with
it.
honey and other stuff, it
Yeah,
tastes
I
gotta mix
believe
it with
you, but I
water.
still no.
Yeah.
Well, I used to just have like really, really bad like acid reflux for a little bit. And like I wasn't used to it, so like I didn't have any medicine or anything around. So
Yeah.
somebody was like apple cider vinegar, and I was like, okay. And I only take like 2 sips of it, and it was totally gone.
Yeah.
It was weird.
That's tight.
So if they endorse that, I respect it.
Yeah.
Maybe they have
It's a healthy thing.
GERD or something. I don't know.
I think they saved the company too. I think that they weren't, doing as well, or maybe couldn't afford to keep it going.
Really?
So yeah,
I know a lot of
that's
people
what
drink apple cider vinegar for like weight loss and stuff. That's like a
Yeah.
that's like a Fergie thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
sorry. Did you want to say something else?
Oh, no. Interesting. His father was half Native. Well, because he died, but half Native American. His mother was Cherokee. So you wouldn't think so when you look at Tom Petty, but
That's tight.
yeah. Skip around a little bit. He had kind of a rough childhood. His dad was abusive, not all the time, but he had a temper and he had a drinking and gambling problem. And he started beating Tom when he was 4 years old.
Damn.
Pretty bad too. Yeah, he had shot a slingshot at a car when he was 4 or 5, and the guy came up to the door and said, your kid did this, and he beat him so bad that he had welts all over his body, which is terrible. Because when you think about a 4 or 5 year old, how tiny they are,
Yeah, that's
you
insane.
couldn't imagine, even yelling at him because they'd probably cry. But so he had a really rough relationship with his dad. He didn't fish or hunt, play sports, and didn't really do well at school. So they were constantly butting heads. And when he got into music a little bit later, his dad didn't really appreciate it until, he got famous. But he started, getting into music really. He liked records and stuff, but not anything crazy until he saw Elvis when he was 9 years old. His uncle worked in like the TV film business, and I think his last name was Jernigan. And Elvis made an appearance, I think, but he was just really impressed with. He said that he was like a beautiful looking man, and he just liked how he was all dressed up and everything. So then he started listening to records, pretty heavily. And then when the Beatles made an appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show when he was 13 years old, that changed everything for him. His dad did buy him his first guitar, and that he said it was because he wouldn't shut up about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Pretty quickly, he started, playing music with some of his friends. Like I said, he wasn't really into a lot of other things. He formed the band The Sundowners. Petty played bass for them, and it had Richie Henson, Robert Crawford, Dennis Lee. Petty was 14 at the time. They played in a space that it used to be his father's grocery store. He was a salesman and he had a grocery store for a while. David Mason played in the band for a little bit. He eventually went on to be a member of Todd Rundgren's Utopia and played with Jackson Browne's touring band. And he was part of the Continentals too before that. So they played what were called socials, which were frat parties. Just so funny. Oh, and they had
It's just funny because it's like, I don't know, the socials.
yeah.
I know at first I was like, oh, that sounds pretty wholesome, frat parties.
Well, one of the shows that they had, I think they had a couple shows lined up one night. Tom Petty got in a fight with Dennis Lee and got like the absolute shit beat out of him, and was no longer in the band after that. I think they kicked him out too. But they said that all these frat guys were surrounded him and were cheering on the everything.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. He soon after met Rodney and Ricky Rucker and started playing music with them. Oh, and Dickie Underwood. And he started singing. So he started playing and singing with them. Their band was called The Epics. And so he started playing in The Epics with Rodney and Ricky Rucker and Dickie Underwood. And they played at rougher places. Tom Leadon, who was Tom's neighbor, joined, and Dan Felder. Oh, and Petty, he liked the band, but he, like I said, they played at rougher spots, but he quit a few times just because, he wasn't really enjoying where things were going. He went to art school briefly, but never attended a single class.
What a rebel.
Yeah.
Damn, art school is already for like the slackers.
Right. Yeah, his dad kind of made him do it. He, was trying to avoid the draft at the time, and he didn't really have anything else he was doing. He was tired of him, sleeping late and staying out late at night. So yeah, he did that, but then had to soon come home after that. He had an LSD epiphany after leaving art school in Tampa and realized that he, definitely wanted to pursue music. The remaining...
Sorry. LSD Epiphany. Like, that's a band name right there. Or, like, a song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to talk about it. I was like, who else has had one of those? But I'm not. Nope.
Just
going to leave that one.
Don't do it.
Leave that one alone.
He started playing with the band again, but they renamed themselves to Mudcrutch.
That name sucks.
They
talk about that too, like the other things that
It kind of reminds me of like it sounds kind of like a new metal band name.
It does.
Mudcrutch.
Oh my god, it does. It does.
My dad was saying something about that one time, and I was like, "Who?" And he's like, like Tom Petty's old band, and I was like, "What?"
Their stuff's good.
Yeah, but
it's
just the curse.
Strange
the curse of
for...
having a shitty name for your band. No, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Tom Lenihan joined after Rodney Rucker left the band. Ricky left eventually. I think it was so it had something to do with like dove hunting season. He didn't want to, work on songs. But Petty was...
Wait, what? He wanted to go hunt some doves instead?
Yeah. Could you imagine hunting a dove?
No.
I thought that was terrible.
It sounds like so anti-Prince.
Yeah.
Like, now we know why the doves cry, bitch.
Yeah.
Because you're out hunting them instead of recording songs.
Murder! Sorry.
And it was like a little kind of, flip back, but I guess his dad could like wrestle alligators.
That's so tight.
Yeah.
God damn
You're from Florida. That's what you gotta do. That's what you have to do to survive.
Yeah, his dad grew up in like this little tiny shack in Florida because I don't think his mom could get work anywhere because she was Native American. And his
that was
dad
probably
did
that
work.
Depression era too, right?
Well,
when they
they were talking about
just racism.
Yeah,
just racism. Mm-hmm.
In some places, which is terrible.
It's sad.
Yeah, ridiculous. So anyway, back to right past dove hunting. So he was looking for some more serious members, and he wanted to write his own music. Started working with Randall Marsh and his friend Mike Campbell. And around that time, Petty's parents got in a really bad accident. His mom had been sick for a while, and they were driving, and his dad was drunk, but it actually wasn't his fault. There was a car in the middle of the road, and I think he, kind of went over a hill and slammed into him. And his younger brother Bruce was in the car as well. They were all hurt pretty bad, and they took the parents to the hospital, and oddly they left like the injured child on the side of the road. Like people had
what?
Yeah, they did, which is nuts. Because some people drove by and they saw like Bruce like bloodied by a wrecked car, and somebody picked him up and they took him home. Luckily he
survived.
Yeah,
holy
shit. You're fine.
Yeah.
You know what? The parents are worse off than the kid. Let's just go ahead and leave this child.
Right. Yeah.
Like that. Oh my God.
But his mom was in pretty bad shape afterwards, and then I think she had cancer. They didn't. It didn't say for sure in some of the stuff I was looking at, but she, really got sick after that. So back to the band. They were playing at some clubs. They were playing at a local club that was a strip club, and he was making them play a lot of covers and stuff. And Tom Lenihan got in a fight with the owner of the club over, a comment he'd said about getting like bigger bands. And so they ended up firing him as vocalist, and that's when, Petty started singing with the band, or singing more because he was still singing, but... After that, they, really started to focus, and they recorded their single Depot Street and spent some time in LA trying to distribute the demo and get with some record companies and possibly get contract. Funny story, but he was driving around and he found a phone booth and he was looking for the phone book so he could get some addresses and phone numbers. And he found a list sitting in the phone booth that had about 20 record companies and phone numbers and addresses on there, which...
that's like one of those things where people are like, I'm praying to God for a sign.
Yeah, that's the big sign.
There you
He
go.
said he was really excited about it, but it was also kind of discouraging because someone else, obviously was there for the same reason that had left the list behind for some reason.
He probably played them the song over the phone. They're like, "You suck."
London Records was interested in them, wanted to sign them, and they talked about it seriously. They wanted to go with them, but they were convinced to sign with Shelter instead. Yeah, so they, started working with Shelter and moved. I think moved out to LA, and they were working on stuff and to start their first recording. With the demo, it wasn't really going anywhere, so they dropped them. They wanted to keep Petty, but not the rest of the band. So he secured a spot for Mike Campbell. Yeah, there's so many people that are in this story that worked with him at some point or other that either went on to become famous musicians or they stayed with him forever and did other side projects. But it's a little overwhelming when you go through all the names. And I left a ton of people out too, just because time.
Yeah.
He was his writing partner, buddy, and kind of, his second go-to guy, second in command. The rest of the band was let go, as I said.
That's so cold.
I know. He didn't want to do it.
But at the same time, if he was already bound by contract, you're kind of fucked if you don't.
Yeah.
He sent his wife and young daughter back to Florida. They had gotten married a week before they went out to LA when they got the contract. Yeah, and she had the baby soon afterwards. He thinks that she was pregnant at the wedding, but just hadn't told him yet.
I'm sorry.
You had the most satisfied smile.
I flicked a fly. So
she just looked at me wide-eyed and smiling
I am
cute.
the fucking Karate Kid right now.
I feel like this happens a lot when we have pauses and stuff. And
it's okay.
You're always snatching flies.
I like it. It's satisfying.
I know.
Plus, I'm right by all these beautiful flowers, which is definitely attracting them. So
yeah,
and they're right by me.
One of their songs, "Lost in Your Eyes," started to get a little bit of attention and got the attention of Leon Russell, producer who wanted to work with Petty on this album idea that he had. He wanted to use a different producer for each song, but it was kind of cool because he wanted to work with really big producers. Funny story, but Petty had, when he first got out to LA, he had house sat for a random person for a while that he never met, and it ended up being Leon Russell, who he worked with later. But the guy had no idea that that's who was watching his house for him, just like some random dude was. Yeah. So he started going to his house every day to work on songs that they were going to write together. I thought this was really funny, but one of the people that was hanging out at his house regularly at the time was Gary Busey, who went by the name of Teddy Jack Eddie.
That's great. What was the tagline from that movie about a tank?
Wait, are you talking about
with Gary Busey in it?
Are you talking about Butthorn?
Yeah, it's like screw you, Butthorn. He says Butthorn so many times in that movie. Oh, the joy that brings to me. What was that movie called? I can't even remember, but it's it's got a tank in it, and it's making a big deal about some tank as this crazy weapon that they have to protect, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
He just pops out of nowhere. He's screw you, Butthorn. It's yes.
I didn't even know he was a musician before he was, during and before he became a big actor. Which is funny. Yeah. So some of the producers that they wanted to work with, Brian Wilson, he was suggested, but he wasn't, very well at the time. George Harrison came to, work on some stuff with them, but nothing ever materialized. Terry Melcher, he ended up hanging out there a lot with a lot of people, but once again, nothing ever. Oh, and it was funny, he brought Sylvester Stallone with him while they were, so we ended up meeting all these random people.
So Terry Melcher, who the Manson family thought was living at the house.
Yeah. Because he was working with the Beach Boys and, really good friends with Dennis Wilson. And they had kind of used some of the women in the family as their own little personal prostitutes for a while.
Yeah.
And promised Charles Manson
deals and stuff.
Yeah, and they ended up even stealing one of his songs, which is so they kind of egged him on. The Beach Boys, they recorded one of his songs.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, the line is "Bird season's over, Butthorn."
Yes. We should say that to the dove hunter.
I know what I was about to say. We should have said this earlier.
Bird season's
Go back to recording. Bird season's over, Butthorn.
You missed your chance, butthorn.
Maybe we should edit this so we can go back in.
Nah.
I know.
Oh my god, that's so good. It's not when doves cry. It's bird season's over, butthorn. Oh, I'm gonna have to use that now that you've jogged my memory. It's so good.
He started to realize that this was never going to turn into anything. So he decided to focus on assembling a band again. He didn't want to be a solo artist, and he got a hold of the keyboardist with Mudcrutch was Ben Mott-Tench. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. Okay, so Ben Mott-Tench, he was a really talented, he grew up in Florida with them. He was a talented piano player and was their keyboardist, but he was the only classically trained one of the group.
Oh.
So he brought a lot to, and all these guys could sing and play and do a lot of stuff. So it was just he always had like a really good band. So he got a hold of Ben Mott and brought drummer Stan Lynch and bassist Ron Blair, and they became the Heartbreakers. They were briefly called Nitro. And
okay, have you guys ever heard the band Nitro?
No.
I think so. I'm familiar with the...
It's amazing. It's like when hair metal was kind of dying out, this band called Nitro came out, and it was like hair metal on crack.
Oh.
Like they had the biggest hair, the most ridiculous studded leather bodysuits and everything. And the dude, Michelangelo, he had a 4-necked guitar.
Oh, geez.
It was
I don't think I've heard them, but I think I can picture what they looked like.
If you're bored and you want to giggle and just appreciate all its glory, Nitro, Night Train. Another freight. No, it's Freight Train or something like, it's Freight Train. It's like, another freight train, another freight train coming. No, it's so absolutely ridiculous. And like the guitar solos and everything. And the dude's like, the singer of Nitro can actually break glass with his voice. He's the guy that they went to for Mythbusters. Like, so he's cool. Actually knows how to do it. It's amazing. Wow. Sorry, go on.
Freight Train
so he's got the range of like Mariah Carey, but used in a different way.
It's it's actually like a weird like off note that does it.
So it's like literally like, oh god,
and it's like volume.
Yeah.
Huh. They were almost called Tom Petty and the King Bees too.
Tom Petty and the King Bees.
Yes.
That sounds kind of tight.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah.
It's a better name than Mudcrutch.
But
I like the Heartbreakers.
The Heartbreakers is
Yeah.
definitely the superior choice.
So in 1976, they came out with their first album that included singles American Girl, Breakdown, and they didn't really hit it in the US, but they did really well in England.
That kind of surprises me because everybody kind of just
like a
thinks
US
of
band.
Yeah, everybody thinks of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers as being such like an Americana, like you know, it just seems kind of strange.
Yeah, they loved him. They even fans like rushed the stage in one of their shows in Wales.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They were touring Europe pretty extensively for a while, and they were traveling from Holland to Germany. And Stan Lynch got caught with they'd bought a bunch of hash, and he got caught with a pipe with some residue at the airport, and they got stuck. They were detained there for a while, but they had a television appearance, and they ended up getting out without getting in any sort of trouble. But at the time, Ron Blair, he ate like a brick of it, so they wouldn't get in any further trouble. And they had a performance right afterwards, and he did, played amazing. Okay. So that's not
He ate a brick of what?
Hash.
I could see that being hyper concentration for sure, but also like, how did he not get so sick?
Oh, I know. You think you just puke it right back up?
That's really funny.
Yeah. When they came back to the U.S., they still didn't really have much of a buzz.
Except for the guy on all the hash.
Yeah, right.
Oh, sorry.
I saw this random fact online, and I have no idea if it's true, but they said that their tour manager on their first like U.S. tour ended up blowing over $30,000 on cocaine.
Probably.
Which I think they talk about. I read the book Petty by Warren Zanes, and I think he talks about it too, but I couldn't remember exactly what was said.
I feel like
it's
that should be
book,
like
by
the
the way.
rule of like anyone, like if you ever get famous, the first thing you do is don't do cocaine.
Yeah. After the first album was starting to get successful, I guess Tom Petty bought a Camaro in cash.
Right.
And there was a story where he drove around with Springsteen. He drove around with Bruce Springsteen listening to 8 tracks just up and down the coast, which is funny because it was like his big splurge spending the money. And then he ended up hanging out with Springsteen. He'd heard the record and wanted to meet up with them. So
it's like Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen driving up and down the coast in a Camaro, listening to each other's records.
well, they were listening to it. They went to like a Tower Records and they bought a bunch of 8 tracks. And they like one of them was the Rolling Stones and just a bunch of other stuff.
This is like a dream.
I know. He had so many cool experiences.
It's like the ultimate like American
people.
dream.
Like that's a fucking music video right there.
Right.
Yeah. That's also like it could be like a side story in like that Coffee and Cigarettes movie or something.
I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or like a documentary or something.
Independent film. Mm-hmm. Yep.
They started working on they put their second album out, You're Gonna Get It, in 1978. He was like really inspired to write songs, and the writing started, becoming an easier thing for him. He was a very hardworking guy all along. He put a lot into, kind of keeping the band going and just keeping them, in the right direction and writing the songs, recording all the time. But the band just kept getting better and better. And this was around the time that they decided to no longer do the 5-way split with their pay. And it was because of all the work that Petty was putting into things. Some of the guys were kind of like partying a lot and, just kind of hanging out. So he wanted to take more of the role as like the leader of the band, negotiate better options for him. And, that was part of it, that he ended up getting paid a little bit more. They weren't very happy about it, but they also really liked what they were doing and liked the band and the music. So they didn't.
That's legit. Like, I'm always like harping on people about that. But like, the fact that it started off equal and that everybody like begrudgingly was like, you know what, I understand. That makes sense.
There was also, they were playing with the Kinks. And Ray Davies was, like during soundtrack, they had moved all of their instruments like up to the very front of the stage. So the Heartbreakers had like no room to put their stuff out there. And he was kind of pissed off by that. But then Ray Davies wouldn't stop playing Tired of Waiting. And they started to leave. They were like, okay, fine, fuck this. So they packed up their stuff. And the drummer, Mick Avery, he saw what was happening. And he tried to go, he like moved his drums back. So they had like a little spot to play. Cause think about like how much room that would give you. And I guess he and Ray Davies ended up getting in a fist fight over it because he was trying to get him to stop playing Tired of Waiting. So
who was the opener?
They were supposed to be the opener, but during sound check, Ray Davies was,
just being a dick.
Yeah, he was just being a dick.
Also that's so rude.
Yeah,
like, the
that's
band's
horrible.
Like, I get you're a headliner, but like quit being such a prima donna and get your shit off the stage, or at least like make room. Like you can always push it forward later.
Yeah,
don't be an asshole.
And that was part of the reason, too, that he wanted to take on that role, because he decided that he no longer wanted to be an opening band for anybody. They'd just been offered to open for the Rolling Stones, which would have been huge for them, but he was like, nope, not doing it. On that album, they also had singles I Need to Know and Listen to Her Heart. Then Damn the Torpedoes came out in 1979. They sought out Patti Smith's producer, Jimmy Levine, for this. And at the time, MCA kind of got rid of Shelter Records, but the band was still bound by contract and they would just get sold to like whatever, wherever direction they were going to go at the time. They decided to fight the record company, and because that also took all their prior publishing. They didn't really understand what they were doing when they signed the contract.
That's
and
like
what all
the
it
classic
entailed.
Story. Like record companies back then were sharks, man.
Yeah, he fought it. They went to court, and the record company, tried to and lawyers tried to pressure them to, just let it go, but they didn't, and so they didn't want to lose their songs. And they said at this point, really all they had to lose were their songs, and didn't have anything else to lose. So, worst that could happen. Right. They thought it was, it was going to happen anyway. They were going to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy to get, their publishing rights back and to get kind of out of the contract. And, of course, record label was just super pissed with the move. And it also kind of made them look bad to other labels, too, because they're like, oh, what did these guys that are, They had a lot of respect, but they were still pretty new. But they kept with it. They went on a little tour. They called, I think it was their bankruptcy tour or their lawsuit tour to pay the legal bills. They wore shirts that they had made that said Y, like WHY, MCA, which was funny. They were secretly recording at the time because anything that they were working on would be owned by them still by contract. Right. So they had somebody ready to take the tapes and hide them, because if Tom knew where they were, then if he was questioned, he would have to, lie in court. So he never knew where the tapes were.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. But they were working on Refugee and Here Comes My Girl, for this album, which ended up being a huge album. But, and when they recorded Refugee, I thought this was kind of interesting. They recorded live versions of the band playing. So they did like 150 takes just because they didn't want to piece anything together.
Jeez.
Yeah, I guess there was another funny story too where Tom was at a meeting with the lawyers and the label. And because he was kind of like a little white trash kid from Florida. So sometimes his behavior wasn't, what you would expect. But he was sitting at the meeting with a penknife and started like picking his nails. And they said it, kind of looked like he was like putting on a tough show, but he just like really didn't think about it and was just like cleaning his nails with this penknife. While they were recording, Jimmy Levine didn't really mesh well with Stan Lynch, the drummer, who was kind of a dickwad. Everything I read about the guy, he was like mouthy. I guess he was really fun. Yeah, I guess he was really fun and energetic too, and a good drummer, but he didn't really like what he was doing. He said that sometimes slowed down the band and he didn't really want to do that. So sometimes he tried to encourage him to, fire him or use a drum machine in songs or bring in other drummers to work with him.
I don't feel like doing this. You know what you could do? Get a drum machine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what a douche. That is funny.
Also, fun fact, Damn the Torpedoes really means full speed ahead. Just another way to say that. I didn't know that until the label caved because the lawsuit was still going on this whole time. And they gave them their own little label and their publishing rights back. So, yeah, they still wanted to distribute their records, so they kept them on. So kind of everybody won a little bit. So yeah, Damn the Torpedoes was released in 1979, and this album did extremely well. They toured the world for the whole next year, and they started really making money.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they were all still pretty young at the time, too. In 1981, Hard Promises came out. Tom's mother was extremely ill, and he visited her after the Damn the Torpedoes tour, but then this was a crazy story, but he went to visit her in the hospital, and she was, out of it. She wasn't really waking up at this point, but the hospital staff had been like cutting out a bunch of Tom Petty newspaper
articles.
Yeah, and they laid them on his mom's like passed out body in the hospital bed. So he walked in and he didn't think it was cool at all because
That's weird.
Yeah, he thought it was weird that they like put him on her body because he was like, no, this is about her. This isn't about me.
Yeah,
I'm visiting my sick mother in the hospital.
Yeah, this is Kitty Petty.
Yeah, she passed, and they were a little relieved because she'd been in a lot of pain and she'd been sick for a while.
Poor Kitty Petty.
Yeah, and then this was really sad, but he didn't go to her funeral, not because he didn't want to, but because where he was from, they made a huge deal about him possibly coming for the funeral, and he didn't want the focus to be him.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be on
rough.
her life because he was really, really, really close with his mom, and she was kind of his protector a lot. He actually
his dad and stuff.
Yeah, she and his little brother stepped in a lot when he was trying to beat Tom. But yeah, he said he wrestled with that decision the rest of his life, wondering if he made the right decision. Also, this time Stevie Nicks kind of came into the picture. She was a huge fan of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. She actually wanted to join the band, but they wouldn't let her do it. And she was very famous at the time.
So they
Very
ended
well
up giving her
established.
that song instead to sing, right?
Well, yeah, she was working on her first solo album, and it was good, but it didn't, really good, but it didn't have any like radio hits. She wanted him to write a song for her. He said he didn't have time, but then like she was pretty relentless, and he wrote Insider, which he wrote it about the grief of his mother passing. So he ended up actually, after he wrote it, he ended up keeping it. And, she sang backup vocals on the song though, but he ended up giving her Stop Dragging My Heart Around. Mm-hmm. And they both sang on that. It's a really cool song. She was secretly dating Jimmy Levine at the time. And when Tom would come over to like work on stuff, she would hide from him, which is funny because they didn't want, him to think, oh, like that's why you're really pushing me to work with this lady. But they eventually became really good friends. She got a lot of the band members to work on her album as well. She credits Tom for the success of her solo career. And she also, befriended his wife, Jane, at the time. She had kind of always struggled with addiction.
Stevie Nicks.
Well,
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks too, but his wife and his
Yeah.
wife and mental illness as well. But after she became friends with Stevie Nicks, her drug addiction got a lot worse.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually her song Edge of 17 was inspired by Tom's wife because she was talking about how they met at the age of 17. But with her accent, it sounded like she said Edge of 17. Another fun fact. At this time, the label decided to raise album prices, and they were kind of, using Tom's the album that they were, going to release at the time as a way to promote this and to, kind of like, oh, everybody wants this Tom Petty album. But he once again decided to fight the label on this. And
I hope they were like, oh, damn it, he's serious.
Yeah. So he was like very vocal about it with the media and gave a couple interviews around the time. So he did delay it for a while. They were pretty exhausted after this. They'd gone through, some legal stuff and just working nonstop and touring. And they weren't all getting along. Things weren't working well with Ron Blair, their bassist. They were kind of hard on him because they were, like I said, they were very stressed out and tired. But he ended up completely quitting the music business and opened up a bikini store.
Okay.
It was a random turn of events.
Yeah. So he was just sick of it.
It's like, you know what my dream job is? Selling women
Bikini
bikinis.
salesman.
Yeah. So it was a very amicable split, though, and he remained friends with the band.
I'm sorry. That is just like such a fucking random
very random
choice.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he did well. Maybe it's still around.
I mean, he's living his dream, apparently.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? I don't want to be a rock star. I want to sell.
And I have enough money that I can actually,
suits.
have a business and not really have to worry about losing a lot. So, hey, whatever.
So they were really worried about who was going to replace him. They didn't want just anybody because they had really good band chemistry. Tom was working on producing an album for Del Shannon at the time, and he used Howie Epstein to play bass on that work. He ended up bringing him in to work with them. Yeah, he loved his style. He was a really good vocalist too, and they said that he was the super cool guy they wanted to let in. Del was pretty pissed that he kind of poached his bassist because he was actively playing with the band and they were getting ready to tour. But yeah, he instantly fit in with everybody. They really liked him. In 1982, they released Long After Dark. Didn't do as well as Hard Promises. They kind of blamed that on advice from Jimmy Levine because he, had him take a couple songs off the record that were going to be on there, and they think that those would have been good hits. They made a mini movie for the video for Hard to Find. It was a sci-fi western.
What?
Yeah.
I never watched that.
I know, I don't think I've seen it either, but then I wondered if Cowboys and Aliens was inspired by it.
Or a Firefly.
Yeah.
What year was this?
It was...
This came out?
Long After Dark came out in 1982, but
okay, so that's around the time people were doing kind of like epic music videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 1985, they started working on their album Southern Accents. The band was doing a lot of drugs at the time and hanging out with kind of shady people. While they were working on a recording, Tom punched a wall and it did extensive damage to his hand. Needed surgery and physical therapy and actually to get shock therapy done on his hand because he couldn't open and close it sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah. Part of the reason too, that same day, Mike Campbell had shown him a bunch of songs that he wrote that he wanted to include on the album. And Petty kind of turned him down. He didn't really like some of the stuff, and one of the songs that he passed up ended up being Don Henley's "Boys of Summer." He gave him that song, and he was pretty pissed about that too because it ended up being doing really well.
Yeah.
So he had found out that day he found out that was the song, and it was a hit. So they said that kind of contributed to it too.
So he recovered, and then what?
Yeah, and Tom sobered up a lot because, like I said, they were doing a lot of drugs at the time, and they decided they wanted that album to be a double album, but they didn't. They just ended up having it be a single album. Jimmy Levine was also working on Stevie Nicks' second album at the time, and he wanted them to work with her again because she loved them. Tom suggested that she work with producer Dave Stewart, and they asked him to go over and, help him work on a song. And Stevie had been recording all day and was tired, so she went to bed. But Tom and Dave Stewart ended up staying up all night and working on a song in the studio. And they even recorded and got the whole thing done. And he ended up keeping the song because it was "Don't Come Around Here No More."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which I couldn't imagine anybody singing that other than him.
Is that that's a video with the Alice in
Wonderland inspired? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the Mad Hatter in the video.
Is that the video where the lady is a cake or something and they're cutting in her? Is that video?
It's been so long since I've seen that.
What album was the Coma song on?
We're getting there.
That was late 80s.
I'll have to look for sure because I don't remember the exact date, but it was his first solo album.
Okay.
Yeah.
What inspired that? Going solo.
Well, we're almost there. Sorry.
Drugs. Too many drugs. I don't know.
So they decided they were asked to tour with Bob Dylan He wanted them to open up and then also be his backing band at the time. They toured Australia with him, and Stevie Nicks actually went with Tom on that tour because he was kind of going through some stuff emotionally. His marriage wasn't doing well, and he wanted his wife to go, but she wouldn't go, so Stevie went instead. But they ended up touring U.S., Europe, Japan with Bob. And they like absolutely love playing with him, and they improvise all the time.
Like that's the exception to the rule. It's like, no, we want to be the headliners, but when Bob Dylan asks you, you're like, you know what? Actually, that's a great idea.
They were all really excited about that. But yeah, it made them such better musicians because they sometimes play songs in a different way, different tempo, and had to be ready for it. And such a huge catalog of songs that they had to learn. In 1987, they put the album out, "Let Me Up, I've Had Enough," and it was kind of his like pre-divorce album. Some of the songs can talk about what he was going through at the time. And someone burnt his house down.
What?
Yeah, they put something that caused the fire on like the back stairs of his house, but his family was in there. His oldest daughter was away, but his youngest daughter, Anna Kim, and Tom and the wife were home.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and they lost so much stuff.
Because of this album coming out, somebody's like, fuck this girl. Like, let's set the house on fire? Or like, what?
No,
just a random act of...
Yeah, they don't know. They never caught who did it, so they don't know why they did it, but the person knew that, they were home at the time, possibly was trying to kill him in the family.
That's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, why would you kill Tom Petty?
It was a leftover Manson-ite. We were affiliated with the people we tried to kill.
Could be.
Yeah, who knows? But it was actually on his wife's birthday too, which is really sad. But they ended up saving. He had a home studio, and they ended up saving a lot of his cars and some of that stuff. But he had a bunch of memorabilia, like music memorabilia, that was lost. Yeah.
Camaro, okay.
Oh, I don't know. But a bunch of his friends rallied together, and Annie Lennox even bought like his family a bunch of clothes to kind of get him through the next like couple months, which is really nice.
I bet she bought him a bunch of like, I don't know, you think of Annie Lennox and how she had that kind of crazy style. She bought him all these like unwearable for every day. Like,
probably.
No. That's nice of her.
So he took his family on tour with him for a while because they didn't have anywhere to live, and he was getting ready to tour. He had a birthday party where he celebrated his birthday with Bob Dylan, George Harrison, the band, and his family, which is kind of cool.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so he asked Jeff Lynne to work with him on after hearing one of George Harrison's albums, his solo album, and they worked. They were working on just writing, and they worked with Jeff and Roy Orbison on the song "You Got It." And this eventually turned into the Traveling Wilburys, kind of sort of by accident. And oh yeah, because they like those guys were writing together, and then they had nowhere to record, so they ended up recording at Dylan's studio. But soon after they like put the album out and toured, Roy Orbison died. This is after the album had already gone platinum. So kind of a good way to go if you're a musician.
Yeah.
Working with like some of the greatest people out there. So he continued working with Jeff Lynne and Mike Campbell on some songs, which became Tom's first solo album. So yeah, I know I've talked a lot, but finally got there. The rest of the band wasn't very happy about it. They didn't really know what his intentions were and thought that maybe, that was going to be the end of things. He tried to include him on some of the songs, but they kind of weren't enjoying it. Like Benmont, Lynch, kind of did a few things but had a bad attitude about it, and Howie wouldn't play on Free Falling because he didn't like the song.
Little did he know it was the Coma Awakening.
Right. On that album, Free Falling, Won't Back Down, Running Down a Dream, Facing the Crowd.
Like all the hits.
Yeah. And at the time, which was funny, his solo album, which I don't think I said the name of it yet, which Full Moon Fever, that was nominated for Album of the Year for Grammy. He brought in Scott Thurston to work on the album with him and support him on the tour. And he was like a multi-instrumentalist and utility guy. He worked with Iggy Pop, Ike and Tina Turner, The Motels. So that was nominated for Grammy for Best Album. Also the Traveling Wilburys album. And then Don Henley's End of Innocence, which Campbell and Lynch had worked on. So it was kind of funny, like all three were, somehow connected.
Boys of Summer on it too.
Yeah. Free Falling also was kind of written on like a little toy Casio keyboard, which was kind of funny. But, and his album, MCA didn't like the solo album at first. They, kind of turned it down. So he had talked with Warner Brothers and kind of signed this like hidden contract because he was still obligated to work with MCA at the time. They eventually got behind the album, but it did get put out luckily, and it was very, very successful. So the band started working on their album in 1990, Into the Great Wide Open, and Jeff Lynne, who had produced his solo album, worked with them. He usually didn't work with bands, but he agreed to do it because he, really liked them. But yeah, on this album, in the studio, the band was still kind of mad at him after the solo album, so they didn't hang out like they usually did. They just kind of came in for their parts, and there was a lot of tension lingering from, that. Johnny Depp and Faye Dunaway actually starred in the video for Into the Great Wide Open. And it was...
I wonder if did Johnny Depp ever play with him at all or no?
No, I don't think so. This could have happened later. I bet later on he probably did at some point, but...
interesting.
Yeah. So this album also had Learning to Fly on it, which was a big one. But that video was 7.5 minutes long and did play on MTV, which is great. I don't remember ever seeing that.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of Tom Petty videos, even like years and years after they came out, they would still, when I was a kid, I remember the Alice in Wonderland video, but that was like 10 years after it came out. You know what I mean? But they would still play it pretty regularly. But I don't remember that one with Johnny Depp.
I know.
And Faye Dunaway.
Yeah.
Oh well.
He started working on his second solo album, The Time Wildflowers, and he used all of the band except Stan Lynch, the drummer.
Wait, is that the douchebag?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, you know what? Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
You don't get in on
need
this.
him.
That's funny.
They worked with producer...
It's a power move.
Yeah. They worked with producer Rick Rubin at the time, and Steve Ferrone came in and played drums on the album. Stan kind of went to pursue some other projects at the time, and they kind of used this to get out of their contract with MCA.
I'm sorry. I'm going to just laugh for a second because earlier today, there was a spider and Olivia had me kill it because she's very afraid of them. And so while she was didn't miss a beat right there, but she just points to the spider and had to get up and kill it.
I had no idea what was going on.
It was
I thought you just got up to
she
throw
didn't
some-
miss a beat, and I know that I'm totally interrupting this, but it was just really funny because she's just still talking about it, and I'm just casually get up and stomp this son of a
Then
bitch.
you knew exactly what I meant by the point.
The look in your eye of sheer terror, and then the point, and then it was just seamless.
And I'm oblivious to everything.
And Lindsay's just what is happening? I'm so sorry, but I just had to put that. People need to know. They need to know what's happening. Okay, continue.
Okay. They wanted to bring back out that Warner Brothers record that he had signed and that had, sat in a safe for a while. So they agreed to, to kind of get out of the deal. They agreed to release this massive greatest hits and write a new song for it, which ended up being Mary Jane's Last Dance. So I think that album went 9 times platinum.
Yeah,
Something
that's
crazy.
the unofficial
right.
Indiana song.
Yeah.
It's true. We are all Indiana girls.
Yes.
And I don't feel like you live in this state without knowing every fucking word to that song.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're not a true Hoosier.
Yeah. Other random thing. They ended up playing the opening night of Johnny Depp's Viper Room Club. And since Stan...
Wait, that's his club? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was his club. Do you remember? That's where River Phoenix died.
Yeah, I didn't know it was Johnny Depp's club.
That was 1993. Oh yeah, and that was kind of it for Stan. He was out after that. I don't think he even. I don't remember. This one I kind of screwed up, but he either didn't show up for the performance and they had to have someone stand in, or that was his last. I think it was his last performance. They told him they were going to have someone else. Oh, they told him that they were going to have Ringo come, but he ended up showing up. But then,
watch out, man, we're going to get Ringo.
Yeah, but then for their Saturday Night Live performance, they ended up getting Dave Grohl to sing because this was after Nirvana at the time.
It's awesome. That's a great pitch hitter there.
Right. They
Dave
wanted
Grohl.
him to join the band, but he kind of had Foo Fighters already in his head.
Yeah.
In the works. So
dope.
Yeah, they asked Ferrone instead because he had just finished touring and backing Johnny Cash.
Nice.
Just random. They also contributed for that She's the One movie soundtrack. And in 1989 they started working on Echo. And it was kind of his post-divorce album. He was in this massive depression at the time and started using heroin really regularly. Neither one of the parents were taking care of the kids at the time. The oldest daughter had to start raising the 13-year-old daughter, Anna Kim. Yeah, because both parents were pretty useless. He met his, what became his wife at the time, and she kind of helped him get over the drug addiction. He went into the hospital and they did how they do the detox while you're passed out. So he was out for 2 days. But while they were working on the album in the studio, he couldn't even really work on writing songs. So they ended up like bringing in little word magnets, and they would kind of lay him out to try to help like guide him along because he was so, out of it at the time.
Dang.
Yeah, but he ended up marrying Dana, his wife, and then they started in 2002 working on, or they, put out the album Last DJ, which was kind of his comment on the changing music industry and media industry. Yeah. Howie started really deteriorating at the time. Their bassist, he was using drugs pretty bad. And at this time, they were also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Past members came and were present. And who do you think inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Oh my God, are you going to make fun of me again?
Was it Eddie Vedder? It was not Eddie Vedder, but
thank God.
I was going to make
I just got like the cold sweats. Like,
Hold on. I want to think about this. It's like somebody that's already been mentioned today.
Well, connected to someone that's been mentioned, so it would be kind of a hard guess. But
okay, never mind.
Jacob Dylan.
Oh,
which is pretty
okay.
cool. Yeah. Very, very attractive guy.
I concur.
Yeah. He, like I said, Howie really deteriorated. He didn't even do very well at the performance. He couldn't really play his bass very well. So Ron Blair, the bikini guy, kind of came back into the picture.
The bikini guy.
Yeah. Because
the bikini business was failing.
I know. I'm so curious. Like, I'm going to look up so many things about Ron Blair later tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, like, did he meet the girl of his dreams at the bikini shop?
I know.
Is the bikini shop still going?
That's what I was wondering.
Like, is it... I just have so many questions.
Or did he have to pack up the bikini business and close it because he got back in the band? Because Howie died, unfortunately. I don't know if I said that yet.
No,
but
you didn't. But.
Yeah. And Stan Lynch, the past drummer, kind of held it against the band. He didn't think that they did enough for him. But I guess they really tried to get him sober, and it just didn't. I think it's one of those things, unless you want to, it doesn't really work.
Yeah, you can't blame anybody else for your own sobriety.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. And you make your own decisions.
Yeah. So 2006, another solo album, Highway Companion with Jeff Lynch. And then reformed Mudcrutch in 2007.
Yeah, I remember. That's when my dad was telling me about it, and I was like, "Who? What?"
I just feel like they need like that, like just Mudcrutch, like their shitty radio DJ voice.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna go to Ozfest, and we're gonna listen to Black Sabbath, Mudcrutch. Like,
yeah, it really does sound a little more like
it does
heavy than it really is. I guess I don't know.
We got Randall Marsh, Tom, I always butcher this guy's name, is Leadon, Ben Mutt-Tench, and Mike Campbell.
How do you spell it?
Leadon.
Leadon?
Yeah, maybe like I was wrong on all of them. So they toured briefly, and then they released their first album in 2008 called Mudcrutch 1. 2010, the Heartbreakers released Mojo. And then, before that, I forgot. 2008, they played the Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a good halftime show. I feel like in the last few years, they've really kind of been struggling to get...
Oh, well, it seems like they mixed people, and I don't know what's like that. It doesn't work.
No, because, in the last 10 or 15 years, they've had, they had Tom Petty, and they had Prince, and they had...
They had McCartney, too, didn't
they? Yeah. And I think Springsteen was pretty recent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, kind of after all of that.
Yeah.
How do you...
Right, how do you get somebody decent? But they released a live recording album in 2009 too. But then I said, 2010, Heartbreakers released Mojo, and then 2014, Hypnotic Eye, and then 2016 there was another Mudcrutch album which was called Mudcrutch 2. This is going to be fun. They toured for their 30th anniversary tour, and guess who opened for them?
I don't want to.
Pearl Jam.
I knew it.
I was going to be like, the Kinks.
What if they had this
that
really
would be funny. That would have been ironic.
I mean, yeah.
They had there's a really good documentary that I'll have to put the name up on Instagram because I forgot the name of it. But it was like 4 hours long, but I was going to have you watch it. But in the first 10 minutes, Eddie Vedder shows up. So I was like, oh, no, never mind.
Keep this far away from Kendra.
Yeah.
Kendra's going to get
See, you're a lot nicer than I'm going to be like, hey, Kendra, you have to watch this. It's really great. And then just let her suffer.
Oh, man. The amount of people that give me shit about my hatred of Pearl Jam never ceases to amaze me. Looking for it, though, by having such a venomous opinion.
Well, Pearl Jam is open for, tons of bands that you love, or, tons of bands you love have opened
so
for them.
They're so affiliated, and they're probably, the nicest dudes ever. I just can't stand them.
I remember my uncle was going to take me to see, this was, 2001. He was going to take me to see Pearl Jam because Sonic Youth was opening. And then I know somebody that saw them and Iggy Pop was opening.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
People I love.
Cool. I know.
The enemy.
So sadly, on October 2nd, 2017, Tom died of cardiac arrest. It was complications after taking fentanyl after a hip surgery.
And that's what happened to Prince, too.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. And then this was, I hate to end it on this, but right after that in 2019, they found out that back in 2008, there was a Universal fire, and a bunch of artist material was destroyed.
Yeah.
And they
Oh,
were
yeah,
that was a big one.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I hate to end that on that, but
That's really sad.
yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy that it took them that long to figure out who was affected, that they kept it in wraps.
Well, I hate to say this, Olivia, but you left out one of the most important points in his career, doing the voice of Lucky Kleinschmidt on King of the Hill.
Oh, I didn't know that.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he even kind of looks like him.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
I watched like some of that show because my dad is obsessed with it.
Yeah, it was in kind of the like later seasons, but I think that show ended in 2009, so it was probably like mid 2000s. Yeah,
Wasn't Brad Pitt one of the voices on that too?
he probably
Like Boomhauer or something?
Oh no, no, Boomhauer is just Mike Judge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got that. But
No, he
maybe just, like, guest starred on it.
he actually got that voice from like an angry viewer of Beavis and Butthead that left a message on his answering machine. It was like, dang old Mike. No, I mean there are a lot of like pretty big names that were just in like one episode.
Yeah.
So
I love it when
I know, like, Matthew
cartoons have, like,
McConaughey.
these famous people.
I know.
Yeah. I know,
Freddie
like, Matthew
Murphy was on
McConaughey
it.
was on one for he like played Luann's boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were a bunch of
Pretty cool.
random celebrity voice appearances. But all right, let's talk about comas. I don't know why I reached for that piece of paper like it's mine. Like I.
Yeah. Well, first let's talk about your coma.
Oh, it was in 2008. It was in March, and I was still living with my mom, and I went home from work the night before. I just felt really awful, and then the next day I still felt super shitty. I thought I just had like a really bad flu or something. And my mom came home from work at like 5:00 that night, and I was like passed out on my floor, looking all creepy, like eyes open, And so she called an ambulance, and they came and got me. And when they got to the hospital, they did a spinal tap because I had complained that my neck was hurting like earlier in the day. So they found out that I had bacterial meningitis, and I didn't wake up for a few days. And when I did, I was so confused.
Yeah.
There wasn't a song or anything that brought me out of it.
In the meantime.
Yeah. Kendra, this really affected Kendra. I mean, it didn't affect me because my ass was just asleep. I'm like,
Your poor mom.
I'm fine.
Oh my
yeah.
God. So
Like everybody around me is a wreck, and I'm just sleeping. I'm just hanging.
from my perspective, I'm in my first apartment. I am 21, 22 years old. I think I was 20, I don't remember what.
I was 20, so yeah.
Yeah, so I was like 22. Yep, just living with my boyfriend and all that, and
Casual phone call from my dad at 7:30
at 7
in the
o'clock
morning.
in the morning, which like her dad never calls me, and he's
I didn't even
like,
know that he had your number. Like, well, I guess
you must have gotten it from your phone or something.
Yeah,
so anyway,
probably.
like he called me. I'm like, whose number is this? And like why would anybody call me at 7 a.m.? Like I just had this feeling.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is Lindsay's dad. Lindsay's in the hospital. And I'm like, I just started crying because I'm like still asleep. He's like, yeah, she has meningitis. And I was just like, oh my God. And he's like, I need you to talk to the Board of Health. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, the Board of
Like,
Health. She had to
freaking
like
out.
tell them all about like the people that I hung out with so that they could take all the like prophylactic pills to make sure that they didn't get it.
Yeah.
They came into my cosmetology school and gave them to all my like close friends there.
I
and-
took the day off work to go visit her at the hospital, and then she was still. What
was
do you
in the
call it?
ICU.
You're in the ICU, but like you were in like a safe room, so like you had to put on a hazmat suit to go like into the room.
Oh,
because
dang.
she was still contagious with the antibiotics and stuff like that.
Oh.
Hadn't taken effect yet.
That's sweet of you to go in. I wouldn't have.
I couldn't because there was only one person in at a time, and your mom was in there with you.
Yeah.
But I saw her, did the little wave or whatever. But then the people from the Board of Health, I was like, yeah, just give me like 10, and I just like drove around all day, like
Handed
giving
out.
out like these like medicine for anyone that like touched her that weekend.
Yeah,
so, it's pretty crazy. And then she woke up. and
I
that
don't
was
even
dope.
remember like. I definitely don't remember like the exact moment that I woke up. I just kind of remember drifting in and out of consciousness. Like I remember waking up and kind of thinking like, why is my whole entire extended family in this room with me? Like, I couldn't really process it.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just go back to sleep. And then I woke up at one point, my sister was getting ready to go to like a school dance, and she was all like dressed up and stuff and like came to see me first. And I was like really confused. I was like, who is this? Because it didn't look like her at all. Yeah. And then I woke up another time. My friend Eric was just like feeding me Jello, and it was like dripping down my shirt. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then once I became like more aware of everything, I was so, I mean, when you've been asleep for like 4 days, you feel like absolute garbage when you wake up. Like, I felt so horrible. Like every time I would get up and try to walk like to the bathroom or anything, I felt like I was just gonna fall over. Like, I was so dizzy, and I was just like pumped full of all these like medicines and stuff that it was. And I was convinced that once I kind of started to like piece together what had happened and everything, I was still convinced that like I wasn't gonna make it because I felt so horrible. And everybody's like, no, the worst part is over. You're fine. And I'm like, why do I feel so horrible then? They're like, because you've been asleep for 4 days and your brain was being infected. Like, you're gonna feel like shit.
You literally had a brain infection.
So and then at one point they brought in like some therapy dogs. They brought in like a golden retriever and I was like petting them, and I'm like, this is really over. This is serious. They're bringing me the therapy dogs. I'm gonna die. But then I think I was in the hospital for like 8 days, and like the last 2 days I was there were pretty awesome because I was sort of starting to feel better, and like they would give me food and stuff, and I just always felt like I was gonna throw up whenever I ate, and I was finally like able to eat stuff again, and I would like buzz the nurse to go get me chicken tenders at like 2 o'clock in the morning and stuff because I was so hungry, and I started feeling pretty good like the last couple of days. I was like, I could stay a little longer, it'd be fine, but I don't know.
That was her coma story.
Yeah.
Coma story.
So I was looking into a little bit about, people that woke from comas to music, and because I can't find that exact fact or like any of this information to support it. And I dug online.
This is the article that I read.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the same one.
This article looks like it was ABC News, written by Megan Holohan. But it talks about a 7-year-old girl from England that slipped into a coma and woke up to an Adele song. And they, while researching it, they decided that it was because the salient stimulus, it was something that she was familiar with, a song that she heard with her mom a lot. And that was confirmed by Dr. Emery Neal Brown, professor of anesthesia at Mass General Hospital and Harvard Medical School, and professor of computational neuroscience at MIT.
That was kind of a short article, but it was kind of good at explaining things in kind of simple terms. Just that things that would bring out like emotional response and people kind of trigger the brain to wake up.
So like, if you guys were to wake up from a coma, then what song do you feel like would do that?
So many, but I got so into the Strokes for a while. I feel like maybe anything off of This Is It, or Is This It?
I feel like something fucking ridiculous. I think I've said fuck more in this podcast than I normally do, but it's fine. I haven't really talked all day, so it's all just like coming out. I've like literally just sat in silence all day.
Kendra, I would play all the most ridiculous songs for you if you were in a coma. I'm like, come on, something has to work.
Yeah, like watch me like wake up to like a Leftover Crack song or something.
Well, I like have a lot of hatred for that, that Hey Now or You're an All-Star song.
Oh my God, yeah.
By fucking Smash Mouth, which I hate them anyway, and I hate Walking on the Sun, but I think that would probably trigger something with me, and I'd like wake up later.
Rage.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rage.
Well then...
Pearl Jam?
Like that. Yeah, I'm going to play Pearl Jam for Kendra.
I would never forgive you.
You would just like flatline as soon as it came in. I was like, oh shit.
I'm out.
Pearl Jam literally killed her. I'm sorry, Kendra.
Oh my gosh. I keep on thinking, I had some good ones in my brain today because I knew I was going to ask that question, but I just kept on thinking of like all these like ridiculous butt rock songs. I'm like, yeah, like that sounds like it would be epic. Like, how stupid would it be if you like woke up to like pour some sugar on me?
I know.
Or like something like that.
Cherry pie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm playing Pearl Jam for you. Be like, I'm still alive. Oh wait, shit. No, you're not.
I feel like if I were to ever wake up from a coma, like the most epic thing ever would, put on Postmortem into Raining Blood by Slayer. Just once the like lightning and thunderstorm sounds happen, like the
and you would just like
and then like I would like as soon as like the first like I think I would pop up right at that moment and like like just play some shitty air guitar because that's what I do every time I hear that song. It makes me really, really excited about my life. Like that song gets me pumped.
Yeah.
And it's like the dumbest song. I fucking love it though. Oh my God. Like I just saw Slayer this weekend or like last weekend, not this weekend. Yeah. I'm still like really pumped about it.
Yeah. The article says that music causes a different reaction in the brain because it processes music and songs differently than spoken language. And the region of the brain responsible for song might be working better while the rest is lagging behind. They have patients that have had strokes that can sing, but they can't speak yet, which is, I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees actually woke from a coma to music.
What song?
It didn't say.
Yeah. I know.
See,
was it one of his own songs? Was it? Because that would make sense that he would awake from that because, he would be super, super familiar with just every,
No, because like I would feel, I don't know about you guys, but like I don't like to like sit around and listen to music that I've written. It's uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, no, I just
maybe
meant
because I never took part in like the writing process. Because I always really liked listening to the songs.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like
and I loved listening to practices. Do you like? Because you can tell a lot about like what's what needs work and stuff.
No, like honestly, like I don't really like listening to music I'm a part of. It's not that I don't like it. Like I think that they're good songs and stuff like that. But I think my tendency is just to always think that I could have done better.
Yeah.
And like be a little disappointed. So I don't want why ruin something that everybody else is like satisfied with.
Yeah. If you showed me a video of a live recording, I'd probably like cry and throw up because I like hated watching.
I don't like that either. Or like I'll hear my inner voice or whatever and be like, yeah, I'm killing it tonight. And then I'll see a video.
You always sound so weird.
I'm like an octave lower than I thought I was. Like
everybody's voice always sounds.
Do I speak this low?
Oh, I do. I speak very low.
I always made like really weird faces when I was playing guitar. I had to chew gum to try to avoid it because I made really weird like John Mayer faces.
I love guitar face though. It's so funny. Like I love
Some
watching
people pull it off better.
Guitar players and it's always funny because it's a lot of my friends play guitar, so like be like staring at them.
Yeah.
Like when they're playing, but it's like no, I'm like just waiting for the guitar face to pop out like when that solo hits because it's always like that like I don't even know how to describe like the lips pucker in a different way or something.
Yeah.
And I also really like watching drummer faces.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it just said something about like for Robin Gibb, it said, it just seems very likely that would have happened just because, he was a professional musician who like sang with his brothers and so that's like a deep like emotional
that
makes sense.
reaction. So.
They did a study, this was on PubMed.com. There was a study done on 40 patients that were in comas and they, 20 of them were selected to be treated with like music therapy and then 20 weren't. But then this kind of throws it off a little bit, but they had the same nurses work with the patients that were listening to the music and then they didn't for the other one, which that throws it off a little bit. But anyway, the patients that listened to the music woke soon, like some of them woke sooner and they just did better, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing. I wish they had a little bit more published about the study. But
I think everybody needs to take preemptive measures with this information.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Start like listening to
make yourself a Coma playlist.
Yeah. Like they do. There's one online. There's a Coma playlist that I found online.
That somebody's done. Like just in case I'm in a coma, play me this shit. Something's going to trigger me awake.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Like that's my new mission. Like, so anyone that is listening to this, I challenge you to make yourself a Coma playlist. That way it's in case of emergency, somebody can grab your phone and be like, I wonder on their Spotify, or on their iTunes or whatever, is there a Coma playlist? And if there is, like, play that bitch. It'd be tight.
I saw, when I was looking stuff up, I saw this, like, 10 songs that have woken people from comas. One of them was that You're Beautiful song by James Blunt. If I heard that shit, I'd be like, put me back in a fucking coma. Kill me. I don't care.
You're beautiful.
I didn't like the way he sang at all.
That song. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I have to hear that at work all the time. Like, I try to pretend like pop music doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm a hairstylist and I've worked in 2 different salons that like to play like the soft rock. Like I'm lucky at the one that I'm at now. They let me make a work playlist. And so it's like everybody's
It's
like sitting around humming, like
in.
unknowingly like sitting around humming and knowing all the words to these like really obscure indie rock songs and like they're like, oh, this one's got a good beat. Like completely oblivious. It's like
I learned
cool.
to tune so much out from working at salons because they'd play such terrible stuff. And then when I worked at the music store too, like some of the stations were good and some of them were so bad. But regardless, you hear the same songs over and over and over again.
I remember like working at H&M when I was in beauty school, and it's like everyone that I worked with at that time like ended up getting like a fascination with Interpol and the Killers.
Oh,
because they played it all the time.
I like both those bands. I
know, like I have no
better.
problem with those bands because I was like, they'd come on and we were
always
all
had
like,
like a decent.
we're like, all right, and it's like this is like the time of like seeing hair and everything too, so we were like all about it.
I guess my question is, since one, we don't even really know if this, like I dreamed up this fact or if it's actually true. Do you think that it's true? That
I think it makes sense.
I do too.
If you think about
absolutely.
like lyrical content and having that triumphant chorus of like I'm free falling, like if you felt like you were like trapped in your body and like you needed to wake up, I think that is a good song to wake up to. I'm gonna put it on my Coma playlist.
And it was on, the radio so much, and you heard it in stores.
Everybody is so familiar with that song, just generally. And
if you were alive in the '90s, you heard that song, 100%.
Yeah. Also, anybody that has any interest, read the Petty book. It is so fucking good. I'm reading it for a second time, like back to back, because I liked it. There's like I said, so many stories and so many people that he came in contact with, but just such an interesting career and interesting guy, nice guy. I didn't know that much about him. I knew a lot of his music, but I didn't know anything really about him personally at the time. So yeah, definitely check out that book.
I will. That sounds good.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have any great conspiracy theories that you want to send us, please do at
ourmusicoddcast@gmail.com. And also, if you find that pop-up video, let me know and you get a sticker, like I said before. But just a reminder.
And also, thanks for everybody for voting on which design they liked the best. So
you picked a good one.
We changed our picture on Instagram. We have it on all of our different sites yet, but we will. The time is coming.
Yeah.
The stickers will be made. It shall be glorious. I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah. And join us next time when we talk about Tom DeLonge from Blink-182.
And the aliens.
And all the aliens. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. This is our Music Oddcast. Thanks for listening, and
see ya.
Good night.